Well, there's one retail brand, they may want to call themselves omni-channel clearly, started off with retail, they have an online mix. Chumbak has stayed and millennials really a brand that sticks on and has stuck on for a while now. Joining me is Vivek to decode the startup journey, the brand journey and what really clicks as far as Chumbak is concerned. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us. At your store, but I know you've been asked this, but how did the idea of Chumbak really come about? You know, it's a very distinctive brand. Yeah. People can instantly make out a product as Chumbak or not, owing to the brand that you've built. How did the idea really come about?
So I think in a nutshell, what happened was both Shubhra and I love to travel, and each time we went abroad, we'd bring back souvenirs and which would actually tell a story of the place that you visited. And I think what happened is that when we came back to India, for the life of us, we couldn't find fun souvenirs that actually represented the India that you and I are growing up in. We would typically be able to get those tiny miniature Taj Mahals or the Pashmina shawls, but nothing that you and I see on a day-to-day basis. I think that was the initial idea, saying that let's do fun souvenirs for the country. And I think when we started speaking to friends and family, it became a whole lot of, showing them some initial designs. Hey, this would look great in a t-shirt, or this would look great in a mug, or this would look great in a phone case. And then we realized, I think just before launch itself, is that, hey, listen, go back to the drawing board. It's not a souvenir collectibles market, it's an accessories market. So that's what we started out with almost like 9 years ago. And then after that, of course, the journey's completely evolved from being this accessories brand to a complete, a lifestyle offering to consumers.
Got it. Also, 9 years is really a long time. And your bet initially also was that you didn't want this only to be an online brand. Now we are over the conversation of online, offline. We all know it's omni-channel, and you had put in systems in place, also considering the brand really required it. That bet paid off clearly?
So I think very clearly, I think from day one, we were never of the kind of thought process that, online is better than offline, offline is better than online. I think each one has a role to play. To us, the color of money is the same both ways, right? And knowing today's consumer, today you might be walking into a mall, but this evening you might be at home and wanting to shop online. So I think from day one itself, we said we have to have our own online presence as well as an offline presence. And I think if you look at it from the perspective of where we've been, I think from day one, we've been about a 25% contribution from online. We're still extremely offline heavy. That's where we build a whole lot of brand and a whole lot of experience in stores, as you can see. But online plays a huge role for us in terms of convenience, in terms of all product being available at one time, and of course reach to places where we don't have stores.
Got it. But retail also requires significant investments, right? Setting up stores, it's a lot more easier to set an online store, but to have dedicated presence for you to expand your presence in so many more cities. So those investments were heavy initially and will really continue?
So I think in initial investments for the first 2 years, we were not funded for the first 2.5, almost 3 years. After that is when we looked at, what's the next kind of stage for, because we were available in mom and pop stores, departmental stores, and doing that directly. But consumers constantly came back and said, hey, listen, I can't see all of Chumbak at one place. And that's when we said, hey, listen, we can't avoid getting into retail ourselves beyond a certain point in time. And that's when we, a couple of interests had come in from VCs across. And that's when we said, okay, listen, if retail is going to be a large enough play and offline is going to be, we have to do it ourselves. And I think the investments that we've made early on has really helped in actually building the brand. And this is something that continues like crazy now. In fact, we're at a pace where in the last 6 months or even 5 months, we've been opening almost a store a week somewhere in the country, right? And I think this will continue at least for a year more in the foreseeable future.
So how many stores would you have, say, the end of this financial year, that is?
I think this financial year we should be around anywhere between 90 to 100 stores by the end of this financial year.
That's quite massive in terms of the trigger on expansion. But Vivek, talk to us about the online versus the retail store mix in terms of customers, what's the orders like, and how does business really come by from both of them?
So interestingly enough, what we see is that, at an offline, consumers tend to buy a lot more in per basket size and per what invoice that they bill. They buy close to about 3.5 products per bill. But offline is slightly lower. I think a lot of, how would I say, categorize them as a little bit more value buyers, a little bit more younger buyers, go online. And I think from a product mix perspective, we see a whole lot more of accessories being sold online. But in offline, it's more of apparel and fashion and home. So I think it's a good mix which we do across both the channels.
Got it. But in terms of focus areas going ahead for Chumbak, would it really be, you spoke about, opening a store a week really.
Yeah.
So will that be a focus area, or is it also about adding a lot more categories really and seeing where the demand, you're sitting on a data mine, so to say, what consumers don't want. So that would really help you go out there and branch out too.
So I think we've kind of, in 2018, we were pretty quiet for a while. We didn't open a store for almost a year. I think we spent that time trying to understand, as you said, data is like the answer to a whole bunch of stuff. And we went through a whole bunch of data trying to understand what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong. On across, in design, in product, in store formats. I think right now we've kind of got this cookie cutter approach of what's working beautifully, and we're just expanding that. So while product is and design is king at Chumbak, what happens is that that's constantly refreshed any day. There's stuff coming into stores and online on a daily basis. So for us, it's right now taking a whole bunch of this and really, accelerating the retail engine. So that's the kind of progress that we do.
Last couple of questions before I let you go. You and Shubhra, or also husband and wife, beyond you started off. Of course, everyone knows the story. You had to sell your apartment to really start. 9 years is a long time for an entrepreneur. It's a tough journey. Was it easier having her around, or do you end up taking work a lot more home? Really, how does that equation work?
Honestly, we fixed this equation the first 6 months of us working together. We work extremely differently. We look at stuff very differently. But I think what's great is that we respect each other's opinions on stuff, and the way we handled it out really early in the beginning was, you handle this, I handle this, and this stuff we handle together. That continues till today. And I think because we are married, there is a trust that, listen, she knows what she's doing, and she says, I know what I'm doing. I don't think disagreements are taken home. There are disagreements in office, but nothing that, we take home.
All right. Lastly, in terms of cash burn, is it still, and it's not a heavy discounted model, is it still so, and is the bet on retail paying off? The investments that if you're saying you're going to open a lot more stores really in the next few months, you're seeing that demand, investments important, will unit economics, profitability, so to say, take a back seat?
So I think unit economics are not taking a backseat at all. They're upfront and center. I think profitability is something that's key for us. We don't do anything without looking at the bottom line. We're not driven, since we are retail heavy at 75%, we're not driven by these vanity metrics like GMV and this. We just look at what money is coming to the bank and what money goes out from the company. I think that's the main thing that we look at. Retail is capex heavy, but is a kind of guaranteed income over a period of time. It's not like suddenly I'm growing at crazy and then I can drop. It's growing and it'll keep growing till the store exists. So retail investments will continue from us, and I think they work extremely well from Chumbak's point of view. So
profitability overall at a startup company level will take some more time?
I think within about 6 to 8 months, not much longer. Yeah.
Interesting. Wonderful chatting with you, Vivek.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so
Pleasure.
much. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.